If you are extremely ambitious and you're feeling an immense amount of FOMO and are constantly stressed out because you feel so behind in life, then this video is for you. And as someone who used to get panic attacks from extreme anxiety and FOMO-like feelings and was constantly overwhelmed by the amount of activities I thought I should be doing, I know how hard and unbearable it is and how it's going to get real dangerous and even fatal. You feel ambitious all the time and it's mostly fine. It helps you get stuff done with so little effort. Your energy never seems to wane away. It feels like you're running on anxiety fuel most of the time, but the problem will start to appear when you come across a wide range of ideas and all of a sudden your anxiety gets shot up to 100. You start to feel so dizzy and unbalanced. The wide world seems to be revolving around your head. You're going so fast that you don't feel like you're moving at all. You feel paralyzed and the anxiety gets boiled up into a frenzy of overwhelming thoughts that you can't easily shake off. It's 2 a.m. and you're sitting on your bed thinking of all the tasks that you still want to get done or skills you want to master. Every cell in your body is trying so hard to keep you awake. Insomnia is your nightly companion, and the only time you are able to get some sleep is when your body spontaneously crashes and you naturally black out. You wake up at dawn and immediately jump into work. Sometimes you forget that you own a body. You forget to eat and work out. Your intellect has become all demanding. If you spend the day socializing, you feel like you have lost an entire year of your life. And this cycle is probably never gonna end. This description might sound so extreme and intense to you, but that's how I felt for most of my life. I spent most of my nights shaking slightly in my bed from the immense amount of anxiety I was feeling inside. I always had this feeling of running, a certain haste in my core, like my head was exploding with ideas and didn't know how to attend to all of them. And right at the second year of college, I started experiencing often a slight chronic shiver in my head, a buzzy sensation in my skull, and completely freaked out. I knew that it was my anxiety. The damages are finally catching up to me, and there's no way I can function this way forever. If I continue relying on my anxiety fuel to give me energy, I will probably crash and stop functioning altogether. So I started to be more mindful of how I feel and not care too much about being productive or getting so much done. At the time, I had been trying to master a second language and had aspirations of becoming a fluent speaker in that language, and I was reading a ton, jumping from one book to the next. But then one day, I came across a platform specifically for speaking with native speakers. I started meeting a lot of strangers virtually and hosting online group chats every night. I got to discuss a lot of intellectual and deep thinking topics. I got to think about my condition thoroughly and try to communicate how I was feeling. And as time went on, I started to notice something different about my mood. I started to feel less anxious and more in control of my stress level. I started to slow down and take it one step at a time. My focus was not a continuous stream of extreme oscillation anymore. And as I slowed down and got real deep on stuff and trained my mind to be committed to creating one thing at a time, I started to get so many mind-opening epiphanies. Like a well of knowledge and understanding had been opened up to me. I could finally pause and stop the time. I could finally slow down my heart rate and get real focused and engaged on the task at hand and shut down all the unnecessary distracting thoughts about what else I could be doing or how faster I could be doing it. I stopped caring about the result of my work and started to pay more attention to the engagement in the process itself. When we get stuck in the rat race of living productively and becoming an overachiever, we are in effect choosing to go backwards, because going faster doesn't always get you further ahead. You just end up spinning your wheels. Sometimes you need to stop and slow down before you can move forward, because when you pause and decide to take it slowly, you are giving your mind time to gain clarity and reflect on the situation deeply. Being busy all the time is the opposite of being productive. When you keep busy, you end up doing stuff that doesn't even matter and will not move the needle. Rather, it's about recognizing what to do and how to do it, and then executing it with a clear, organized mind. Not doing the unnecessary stuff that will only exhaust you. To work smart and get rid of the mentality of working only hard. When we are in a busy mindset, we start losing the ability to understand with our intuitive mind. We fail to pay attention to patterns around us, and slowly our mind becomes stale and the idea-provoking epiphanies cease to visit our mind. Because when we become greedy and adopt the impure mentality of achieving a lot or being extremely productive, we slowly lose the natural rhythm of curiosity. And that reminds me of a part of a poem by Rudyard Kipling. It goes like this: If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, this points out to something very counterintuitive that happens in reality. When you aim too hard at something, you end up missing the target. When you care too much about getting it done, you end up with a mediocre result because you have lost the purity of natural curiosity. You can't just force creativity. You can't strain your mind to come up with ideas. You must do it with love. And that's how you go so much faster with greater ease. And here's a quote from Rumi that points out to the exact same thing. Wherever you are and whatever you do, be in love. So in order to slow down, you can start with incorporating these 7 practices in your life. The first practice that is going to help you immensely is journaling. You can't possibly be in rush and journal at the same time. The act of trying to reflect on your life events and coming up with a worthy conclusion is inherently slow and intentional. You must focus only on the paper, only about the word that you're putting down on the paper. The only way you're able to write something cohesive is to take it one word at a time. You choose your words with love and care, and that's when you get to extend your perception of time, to be able to go fast even though you're slowing down. Another activity that will force you to do just that is praying or meditation. As a Muslim, we pray 5 times per day. You might think that that is a bit excessive or it takes a lot of time. It looks like such a huge portion of your time, but that can't be further from the truth. In reality, praying widens your perception of time. It forces your mind to take it one moment at a time, to not think that there's something in the future that you need to get to, i.e. the feeling of FOMO, but to keep reaping the benefit of now. In a way, it makes you understand and shift your perspective to a point that now becomes the goal and the trajectory of your life. You focus on the present and become grateful for both bad and the good, the easy moments and the challenges of life. And this way, one day becomes a full adventure because now, today, and this moment is all that matters to you. And keep in mind that you need to pray or meditate with focus, not just sitting on your prayer mat and thinking about what you're going to do tomorrow or what your boss told you yesterday at work. No, you shut up all the noises and just focus on the now. Something else that we need to incorporate in our daily activities more often is doing things slower. Next time you're washing the fruits or vegetables, you slow down and empty your mind. Try to slow down your hand movement and get into a pattern of movement that you recognize. Pay attention to how you're shifting each muscle in your arm and make it intentional. This is also something that you need to start doing when you're working out. If you actually pay attention to each and every muscle that you're working out, you are going to feel the control, and it's going to be so much easier for you to do the workout correctly. And in the morning when you're brushing your teeth, try to use that time to be very reflective and to slow down and think about how you're moving the brush up and down. And if you think that this is going to take too much time and you have a class to attend to, try to stop your thoughts from racing and not letting that impatience win you over. You can also do this when you're walking. Try to be intentional about each and every movement. Try to pay attention to how your feet is hitting the ground. Are you landing each feet on the ground at the right angle, or are you just stumping your feet to the ground and end up damaging your knees over time? Are you creating space to do things with the intention, or is it that you just want to get to the destination? Something else that we need to start doing is to do less. If I were to talk about my own example, I would say I have reduced the amount of hours that I work to 4 hours of deep work in the morning and spending the rest of my time nurturing my mind by taking a slow walk in nature or plunging myself into reading a novel or doing an intellectual activity like having an intellectual conversation on talking platforms. And I call that working smarter because I am spending more time on sharpening the mind than in actual work, because I know that the more cognitively sharp I become, the faster I'm going to be able to get the task done. Another habit that I have incorporated in my routine is spending an entire day in silence, or have time in your day for complete introspection and cognitive solitude, eliminating all distraction and confronting the self. Try to disconnect from technology and spend a huge portion of your days walking in silence in the nature, or just having a physical book or a notebook in your hand and shutting off all the noise from the outside world. world. Try to slow down your racing mind and tune into your internal voice to hear yourself and yourself alone. Being alone with oneself is a rare phenomenon in today's day and age, so we must create more space for cognitive solitude. Another habit that we must pay attention to is sleeping well. You might look at someone getting 10 hours of sleep and think to yourself how lazy that person is, when in reality that person can finish a task that takes you 5 hours in just 1 hour because of how charged and refreshed his brain is. It's not about how much you work, but how sharp your brain is. So focusing on sharpening and nurturing the brain is the fastest road to success, but it doesn't necessarily appear that way. So work on your mind more than you work on your job, because if the mind is in its optimal shape, you're able to minimize the amount of time each task takes you. And the last habit that I want to talk about is something that I enjoy doing often. It's reading poetry or even writing some poems yourself, or listening to bird songs in the nature, or doing something artistic and creative like painting the nature scene that you're observing, or even taking a photo of it. Because it takes you out of that racing mind and it gives you time to reflect and to really be present with yourself. I also do this by baking and cooking. Whenever I feel like I'm stressed out or extremely anxious, I bake myself cookies or make a cup of hot chocolate or even coffee, anything that I like the process of at the moment. I use the creative process of baking to calm the racing mind and get into the natural rhythm of living slowly and embracing my curiosity. So slow down to go faster.